Um, we are just about to start. I'm just going to request if everybody can come inside, especially my brother, if he can be asked to come inside. Sanjay will go. Sanjay will go. Thank you. Once again, request all of you to keep your mobiles on silent. For the people who have just walked in, um, there's a water counter just outside here. The washroom for the women is on this side, and for the men is on that side. We have a volunteer here, Poonam Anchal. Sorry, stand up one more time, dear. Thank you. To guide anybody, and Mukund Rajagopalan on that side to guide anybody. Thank you. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to this evening, which is a very special one in our hearts. The celebration of our father, Sri I.C. Menon, who transitioned into eternal peace on 27 January 2023 at the age of 92 years. Anyone who knew or interacted with our father knew him to be someone who lived life on his terms, based on what he believed in. None knows this better than our mother, Leelavati, his partner and life companion for 57 years. At the very outset, I wish to thank all of you for taking the time out to be here today, physically or even virtually. There is a live YouTube link which is helping connect my father's near and dear ones from all over the globe, thanks to technology. Our humble attempt today is to string together some of Dad's favorite things, books, music, and food, to celebrate the fullness of life that he lived in our midst and will continue to do so in our hearts and minds. I now call upon Dr. Ashok Alexander to do a short reading for us. Ashok's father, Dr. P.C. Alexander, was a former governor of multiple states in India and an inspiration and guide to many. Dr. P.C. Alexander was one of Dad's heroes and helped shape the vision of India that Dad held so close to his heart. An India that is open, liberal, yet rooted in its inherent wisdom of plurality and inclusion. a legacy that he has passed on to us too. We are honored that Ashok agreed to share some excerpts of this vision from his father's book with us today. Over to you, dear Ashok.
At the outset, I just want to thank Hari and the Menon family for giving me this occasion to say a few words. My father and Menon uncle was about the same age, 92 years, when they both passed away. My father 10 years previously to this. But I like to think that they both belong to a certain era, a time and space where it was a different age, where decency was the basic tenet of life. And there was some notion about what is life itself and what is our role there. And therefore, I'd like to read a very short passage from one of my father's books, which reflects on the Hindu heritage. You might wonder why someone who's a devout Christian might write about the Hindu heritage, but he was a lifelong study of Hinduism and what it meant. And so he writes some words that perhaps Menon uncle might smile at if he's watching us today. The Hindu heritage. In the Hindu religion, the Vedas and the Upanishads provide the most comprehensive and scientific account about the relations between the soul and the eternal, between the Atma and the eternal reality of God. For the Hindus, the Vedas and the Upanishads are not just books written by an author or group of authors at a particular time, nor are they the texts of the teachings by any guru or prophet. They are the accumulation of spiritual laws discovered by different rishis of men of great religious insight at different times regarding the ethical and spiritual relations between the individual spirit and the eternal spirit. They existed long before they were discovered by the rishis and were handed down in beautiful poetry for the benefit of all generations. Just as the law of gravity existed before it was discovered by Isaac Newton, these truths existed before the rishis had brought them to the knowledge of the common people. That is why the Vedas are described as anadi, or something which has no beginning. They have universal and eternal validity, and they do not lose their relevance by the passage of time. That is why they are also described as ananta, or something without an end. Truths of the Vedas like Vasudeva Kutumbakam or Satyamev Jayate are valid for all generations and will provide the moral bedrock for all civilized societies. The spiritual core of the Upanishads was the vision of man as the Atma, the eternal, infinite dimension of the human personality, striving for excellence. If this is to be explained in terms of values, their theme is freedom of the human spirit, and their message is fearlessness, love, and service. The truth of the Upanishads is the lesson of Sanatan Dharma, or the eternal religions. The great spiritual values treasured through ages in Indian civilization spring from the truths of the Upanishads. Swami Ranganathananda, one of the greatest living authorities on the Upanishads, says, "To the Upanishads, India owes almost all the brighter sides of her life and culture. To them, she owes her impressive record of active tolerance within her borders and the uniformly peaceful and benevolent nature of her foreign relations in the field of religion. To them, she owes the singular absence of aggressive political and military policies and programs on her part towards other nations during her millennia of histories. To them, she owes the periodical renewal of her national springs of life when they seem all but choked and about to dry up. The description of Vedas and Upanishads as the source of all values does not mean that truth and goodness existed without challenge from evil and wickedness, even in the heyday of their influence. The Hindu scriptures describe the classic cases of conflicts between the right and wrong and the ultimate truth of dharma. Apart from the triumph of good over evil in the epics, there is also the all-important assurance that God will not allow wickedness to prevail over righteousness, and that whenever dharma is in danger of subversion, God will intervene to restore dharma. This is the ultimate point in the assurance of continuing concern of the divine in the lives of humans. The Hindu heritage has been a part of the culture and life of every Indian, and several elements of the ethics and values of this heritage continue to influence every Indian's thinking and conduct, whatever may be his religion. That is why in any discussion on ethics and values, the Hindu heritage becomes relevant. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ashok, for sharing that. I know every word would have resonated with my father. He was a seeker his entire life and was blessed to have met many of the spiritual giants, during his lifetime, from Bhagwan Nityananda of Ganeshpuri to Swami Chinmayananda, J. Krishnamurti, Satya Sai Baba, various bishops, Sufis. He looked for truth in whatever form it came, Shri M. So there are so many confluences which sort of came into our life and continue to guide us. So thank you once again, Ashok. I think that was a perfect piece that you chose. Adi Shankara, Swami Vivekananda, Bhagavad Gita, Tagore, Sri Aurobindo, Ramana, Shakespeare. Dad's love for the wisdom of the written word probably came from his grandfather, Sri O. Chandu Menon, who wrote the first modern Malayalam novel, the seminal work called Indulekha, in the late 1800s, followed by his unfinished work, Sharada. I now call upon Dad's granddaughter, Nitya, to share a reading by Eckhart Tolle, whose Power of Now used to be on his table, by his bedside, and a place for him to go to very, very often. Nitya.
So this is a very small excerpt from The Power of Now. And this was one of my grandfather's all-time favorite books, and his books were one of his most prized possessions. So I remember he used to, on the weekends in the morning, sit in the study room and flip through the pages and even underline some of his favorite lines. And he'd often tell me to read and reflect upon those lines. But I was in school and I was quite disinterested and ignorant as well, so I never gave it too much of importance that time. But today when I was glancing through this book, and I came across a chapter on loss and the circle of life. So this is what it says. The natural way of being after death of a loved one is suffering at first. Then there is a deepening. In that deepening, you go to a place where there is no death. And the fact that you felt that means you went deep enough to the place where there is no death. Conditioned as your mind is by society, the contemporary world that you live in, which knows nothing about that dimension, your mind then tells you that there is something wrong with this. Your mind says, I should not be feeling peace. That is not what one feels in a situation like this. But that's a conditioned thought by the culture that you live in. So instead, we can recognize when this happens, when that thought comes, recognize it as a conditioned thought that is not true. It doesn't mean that the waves of sadness don't come back from time to time. But in between the waves of sadness, you sense there is peace. As you sense that peace, you sense the essence of your loved ones as well, the timeless essence. When you go deep enough to the formless, the dreadful is no longer dreadful, it's sacred. It's not through explanations that you accept death. You can have explanations, mental explanations that say, well, he or she will move on or reincarnate or go to some place of rest. That can be comforting, but you can go to a deeper place than that, where you don't need explanations. A state of immediate realization of the sacredness of death. Because what opens up when the form dissolves is life beyond form. And that is the only thing that is sacred. That is a sacred dimension, and death can help you find that sacred dimension of life, where life is indestructible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nitya. Every transition in life is an opportunity for us to learn something about this existence in a deeper, more subtle, and sublime way. Death is no different. I would now like to read a short tribute shared by Dad's nephew, Dr. Ashok Menon, which in a way captures the sublime impact Dad's taste in music and philosophy had on so many of our lives. He didn't send this as a tribute, it's just a message he sent my way today, but the timing was so perfect and I would love to share it with you. Dear Lakshmi and Hari, thank you very much for this invitation, and I would have definitely made it had it not been for my tight schedule. Uncle used to correspond with me through emails till 2017. He used to ask me queries regarding his and Amma's health. He also wrote to me a long mail to clarify some information that appeared in the daily newspaper. My association with him right from my teens has been very nourishing. He introduced me to classical music, and we used to attend concerts by famous musicians like Dr. Lal Gudi Jayaraman, Dr. Balamurli Krishna, Pandit Ravi Shankar, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, etc. They all used to frequent the Sahitya Natak Academy in Delhi in the 60s and the 70s. Once I remember that there were no seats and both of us were standing by the door when Lal Gudi gestured to us to come and made us sit behind him on the stage. Wow, what a great honor that was. He once took me and my late sister Shamala to meet the late Sri V.K. Krishna Menon, former Defense Minister of India, who was his close friend and had a lot of time for him. Uncle told us, better comment on the tea he serves you, as he's an ardent fan of Darjeeling Lopchu tea. We followed his orders and got rewarded with his autograph. He once took me to Sri Ashok Mehta, a political figure whom I didn't know much about. He was a great fan of Jiddu Krishnamurti and used to quote him at the drop of a hat. We miss you, Uncle. Every summer he used to come to Ottapalam on leave. Ottapalam is his town in Kerala, with a roll of identical fabric for all of his nephews, and we used to flaunt around in them like a uniform. A foodie who used to indulge in eating healthy food, his favorite fruit seller in Nauroji Nagar was nicknamed Stalin by him after his handlebar moustache. As a bachelor in the 50s and early 60s in Delhi, Uncle's house was a lodge for any Malayali coming to Delhi in those days, who would come and stay with him until they found a job and moved out. A great man and thinker, sincere and straightforward, he didn't mince words, and this could sometimes lead him into dire straits. We miss you, sir. Our loving pranams. So this was the message from our cousin, Ashok Chetan. And with that, I would now like to call upon my sister-in-law, Dr. Anjali Bhatia, a professor of sociology at Lady Shri Ram College. She said that it was Dad who first suggested sociology as an option to her for her graduation, and it so turned out to be the path that chose her. She will now share a brief reading from J. Krishnamurti's The First and Last Freedom. Even as a young child, Father would discuss Krishnamurti with us, even when I was 9, 10 years old, and I was blessed to meet JK with Dad when I was around that age. So a quick snippet, it was JK who actually asked my dad to move to Delhi and settle here, and also who asked Dad to get married. Dad was a sworn bachelor. He eventually gave in and got married at the age of 37. So those are two key steps of intervention from JK, along with a whole host of others. Over to you now, Anjali.
Thank you, Lakshmi, and good evening. Here's to Uncle, to whom I owe my dal roti, bread butter, idli sambar, and much more. He's much more than that. And like all of us here, I think he wore many hats. Uncle to some, father to Lakshmi and Hari, husband to his wife Leelabati, grandfather to Nitya, neighbor, colleague, an educationist. So the question I asked myself is there a core to us, even though we wear several hats? And the answer that flashed onto me was, with respect to Uncle, at the core of him is an apprentice. He was, from the day I knew him, till the day he transitioned, I think he continued to remain an apprentice to a master, Jiddu Krishnamurti. And here's to that apprentice and master. If you watch your own mind at work, you will see that the movement to the past and to the future is a process in which the present is not. Either the past is a means of escape from the present, which may be unpleasant, or the future is a hope away from the present. So the mind is occupied with the past or with the future and sloughs off the present. That is, the mind is conditioned by the past, conditioned as an Indian, a Brahmin, or a non-Brahmin, a Christian, a Buddhist, and so on. And that conditioned mind projects itself into the future. Therefore, it is never capable of looking directly and impartially at any fact. It either condemns and rejects the fact or accepts and identifies itself with the fact. Such a mind is obviously not capable of seeing any fact as a fact. That is our state of consciousness, which is conditioned by the past, and our thought is the conditioned response to the challenge of a fact. The more you respond according to the conditioning of belief of the past, the more there is the strengthening of the past. That strengthening of the past is obviously the continuity of itself, which it calls the future. So that is the state of our mind, of our consciousness, a pendulum swinging backwards and forwards between the past and the future. That is our consciousness, which is made up not only of the upper layers of the mind, but of the deepest layers as well. Such consciousness obviously cannot function at a different level, because it only knows those two movements of backwards and forwards. If you watch very carefully, you will see that it is not a constant movement, but that there is an interval between two thoughts. Though it may be but an infinitesimal fraction of a second, there is an interval that has significance in the swinging backwards and forwards of the pendulum. We see the fact that our thinking is conditioned by the past, which is projected into the future. The moment you admit the past, you must also admit the future, because there are not two such states as the past and the future, but one state which includes both the conscious and the unconscious, both the collective past and the individual past. The collective and the individual past, in response to the present, give out certain responses which create the individual consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is of the past, and that is the whole background of our existence. The moment you have the past, you inevitably have the future, because the future is merely the continuity of the modified past, but it is still the past. So, our problem is how to bring about a transformation in this process of the past without creating another conditioning, another past. Celebrating Uncle's life, I hope some of us can pick up this book, talk about it, and if possible, walk the talk.
Thank you so much, Anjali. So Dad's last stint in the hospital was a little over a month, on and off the ventilator. During that period, we were guided to play to him daily certain verses of the Ishavasya Upanishad, as well as the Vishnu Sahasranamam, which was an integral part of his and Amma's lives, thanks to the Vanamali group. There are many members present here. They have been a part of this group for over 2 decades, and the group meets in South Delhi and in other places every Saturday without fail to chant the Vishnu Sahasranamam. So this gave the spiritual solace, and later on we added more chants and hymns, etc., to his daily audio ritual in the hospital ICU. We are sharing with you the wisdom and gravitas of verse 17 of the Isha Upanishad. Verses 15 to 18 are usually chanted for the souls who are in a period of transition. Each time Dad heard this verse in the voice of Deepak Nitya and my Guruji, and for many of us gathered here, Shri M, in Shri M Guruji's voice, he would open his eyes, which was otherwise shut. The moment verse 17 would come, and this happened day after day after day after day till the last day when I was blessed to be with him. He would open his eyes and he would respond. We would like to share this verse 17 with you in Shri M's audio. Audio.
Vayur anilam amritam atedam bhasmantam shariram Om krito smara kritam smara krito smara kritam smarar. Remember, remember, O man, O soul, while you exit, may this life enter into immortal breath. Vayur anilam amritam. This breath is now joining with the immortal breath. Vasmantam shariram atetam vasmantam shariram. Then may the body end in ashes. Body end in ashes. Then Om krito smara. O intelligence, remember. Remember. That's why it's repeated. Krito smara, kritam smara, repeated. Remember, O mind, O intelligence, you will be rewarded according to your actions. But you're immortal, you're not going to die. The body is reduced to ashes. So go fearlessly. Remember all the deeds that you have done when you go. Remember, O intelligence, what has been done. Done here means two things. It says, Krito smara, kritam smara. Here it means, done also means what has been done, the body is reduced to ashes. That's also one of the meanings of this statement. But you are free of it. You are a spark of that eternal. So, remember this and move.
Remembering these eternal words of wisdom, we celebrate Dad's existence in the world of spirit where there is no beginning and no end. And now move on to the musical segment of this evening. I have no words to thank our singer for this evening and her troupe. Aparna Rajagopal is a sister of my heart. She and Sai are more than family can be. She runs a wonderful permaculture farm called Bijom, which also serves as an animal shelter and sanctuary for more than 300 animals of different species in Noida and Hapur. She's an artist par excellence in so many fields, but for today, we will savor her music and later on, the wonderful, fully natural vegan food and beverages from the wonderful Bijom team. We know that both these choices have Dad's blessings. Over to you, dearest Aparna. Please introduce your accompanist. She will do a mix of bhajans in both Carnatic and Hindustani style, both of which, and Western, of course, Dad enjoyed, but today we have Carnatic and Hindustani for you. So sit back and relax what is coming up next. Over to you.
Good evening, Namaste. Bhakti Marga and Nama Sankirtanam is the simplest way to reach the divine. We hear this again and again from the great masters and saints. Music is such a balm to the soul and always transports us to a place of peace and bliss. Pure Ananda. This Bhajan Sandhya is a humble offering to the Almighty and to the great soul who has now gone back to the divine. Om Sai Ram. Today I am accompanied by Omkar Prasanna ji on the flute, Bhuvan ji on the keyboard, Prakash Thakur ji on the tabla, and Narendra Sharma ji on the percussion. विश्वं दर्पण दृश्यमान नगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिभो श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये जय जयति जय रघुवंशभूषण राम राजीव लोचनम् जय जयति जय रघुवंशभूषण राम राजीव लोचनम् भयतापखण्डन जगदानन्दन ध्यानगम्य अगोचरं भयतापखण्डन जगदानन्दन ध्यानगम्य अगोचरं जय जयति जय रघुवंशभूषण राम राजीव लोचनम् अद्वैत अविनाशी आनन्दित मोक्षप्रद हरि गल्जनम् अद्वैत अविनाशी आनन्दित मोक्षप्रद हरि गल्जनम् तव शरण भवनिधि पारदायक अन्य जगत वितम्बनम् तव शरण भवनिधि पारदायक अन्य जगत वितम्बनम् जय जयति जय रघुवंशभूषण राम राजीव लोचनम् भयतापखण्डन जगदानन्दन ध्यानगम्य अगोचरं जय जयति जय रघुवंशभूषण राम राजीव लोचनम् 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 There is a story that moves me a lot, and I must share it before I sing the next song. Once Satya Sai Baba was traveling with his disciple in the car to Puttaparthi, and his disciple was insisting that he wants to see Vishwarupam. He said, "Why can't you show me Vishwarupam? I want to see God in all his glory." And at some point, Baba turned around and said, "You are so foolish." He pulled down the window glass and he said, "That is Vishwarupam." So I think we often search and seek God, in places and looking for him, and he's just there outside the window around us. All the creation that he has made, everything that he's created is his Vishwarupam. That story really moved me because it's so true. We may come and go, but the sun will still rise and set, and the mountains will stay on. It's simply beautiful and so awe-inspiring when you think of it like that. Sai Parameshwar, Sai Karuneshwar, Sai Parameshwar, Sai Karuneshwar, Mukti Data
okay? This is a celebration. So don't hold back. Yes.
The next song is a Rabindra Sangeet. It's a famous Rabindra Sangeet. I hope you enjoy it. আগুনের পরশমণি ছুঁয়াও প্রাণে এই জীবন পূর্ণ করো এই জীবন পূর্ণ করো এই জীবন পূর্ণ করো এই জীবন পূর্ণ করো দহন দানি আগুনের পরশমণি ছুঁয়াও প্রাণী এই জীবন আগুনের পরশমণি ছুঁয়াও প্রাণী এই জীবন পূর্ণ করো এই জীবন পূর্ণ করো এই জীবন পূর্ণ করো এই জীবন পূর্ণ করো দহন দানি আগুনের পরশমণি ছুঁয়াও প্রাণী If there is a concise version of the Gita, it's Bhaja Govindam. So I have selected a few passages from Bhaja Govindam and I hope I do justice to it. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Samprapte Salnihite Kale, Samprapte Salnihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukhr Karane, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukhr Karane, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. यावत्पीतो पार्जनशक्तः तावन्निज परिवारो रक्तः, यावत्पीतो पार्जनशक्तः तावन्निज परिवारो रक्तः, पश्चाज्जीवति चर्चर देहे, पश्चाज्जीवति चर्चर देहे, वार्तां कोऽपि न पृच्छति गेहे, वार्तां कोऽपि न पृच्छति गेहे, भज गोविन्दं, भज गोविन्दं, भज गोविन्दं, भज गोविन्दं, गोविन्दं भज मूढमते, सुरमन्दिरतनु मूलनिवासः, सुरमन्दिरतनु मूलनिवासः, शय्याभूतलम् अजिनं वासः, सुरमन्दिरतनु मूलनिवासः, शय्याभूतलम् अजिनं वासः, सर्वपरिग्रह भोगत्यागः, सर्वपरिग्रह भोगत्यागः, Now I'm going to sing something that was a request from Lakshmi. It's a favorite song, uncle's favorite song. So I have included that in the evening today. It's actually a lullaby in Sanskrit. Madhava Mamava Deva Krishna Yadava Krishna Yadukula Krishna Madhava Mamava Deva Krishna Yadava Krishna Yadukula Krishna Madhava Mamava Deva Krishna Yadava Krishna Yadukula Krishna Madhava Mamava Deva. साधु जनाधार सार्वभौम साधु जनाधार सार्वभौम माधव मामव देव माधव मामव देव माधव मामव देवा कृष्णा यादव कृष्णा यदुकुल कृष्णा माधव मामव देवा. अम्बुजलोचन कम्बुशुभग्रीव बिम्बादरा चन्द्रबिम्बानना अम्बुजलोचन कम्बुशुभग्रीव बिम्बादरा चन्द्रबिम्बानना चाम्बेय नासाग्रे लग्न सुमौटिक चाम्बेय नासाग्रे लग्न सुमौटिक शारद चन्द्र जनित मथना शारद चन्द्र जनित मथना माधव मामव देवा कृष्णा यादव कृष्णा यदुकुल कृष्णा माधव मामव देवा. Now I'm going to sing a song which I'm sure a lot of you have heard in your childhood. It's a very famous song by Hari Om Sharan. I've chosen all my favorites today. This is a very beautiful bhajan where he uses the metaphor of a chadar or a shawl and compares it with the soul. It's beautiful. मैली चादर ओढ़ के कैसी द्वार तुम्हारे आओ मैली चादर ओढ़ के कैसी द्वार तुम्हारे आओ there's another story that I have to say here. I'd love to say it here. Once Akbar was praising Birbal in court, and he told him, there cannot be anyone like you. What a gem you are. I mean, what a voice you have. So at some point, Tansen, I'm really sorry, I don't know why I have Birbal in. So Tansen told Akbar, Janab, there is somebody who sings better than me. He said, how can that be? Who is this? He said, it's my guru, Swami Haridas. So Akbar said, summon him to court. He said, he won't come. You have to go meet him. And that too, not in these robes. You have to come as a simple man. He won't meet you. So Akbar was very intrigued. Who won't come to meet him? And he dressed as a common man and went with Tansen to meet Swami Haridas. They walked a long way along the Yamuna and finally reached a small kutia where a Sant was sitting with a tanpura and singing. They stood behind a tree and heard him. And Akbar's eyes filled with tears and rolled down his cheeks. He was so emotional. And he said, why don't you sing like this to Tansen? So Tansen said, that's because I sing for you and he sings for God. So honestly, every time we sing, I think the best music comes out when we sing for the divine. I'll be singing a Kabir bhajan next. ना मैं धर्मी ना ही अधर्मी, ना मैं जति ना कामी हो, ना मैं धर्मी ना ही अधर्मी, ना मैं जति This is a bhajan everybody loves, everybody knows, and nobody is not moved. वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे। वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे। पर दुखे उपकार करे तुए, पर दुखे उपकार करे तुए, मन अभिमान ना आने रे। finishing with a Shiva Shloka composed by Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya. शिवाकान्त शम्भो शशाङ्कार्धमौळे शिवाकान्त शम्भो शशाङ्कार्धमौळे महेशानशूलिन् जटाजूटधारिन् त्वमेको जगत् व्यापको विश्वरूप प्रसिद्ध प्रसिद्ध प्रभो पूर्णरूप अजं शाश्वतं कारणं कारणानां शिवं केवलं भासकं भासगानां तुरीयं तमत् पारमाद्यन्तहीनं प्रपद्ये परं पावनं द्वैतहीनं नमस्ते नमस्ते विभो विश्वमूर्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते चिदानन्दमूर्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते तपोयोगगम्य नमस्ते नमस्ते श्रुतिज्ञानगम्य शिवाकान्त शम्भो
थैंक यू सो मच अपर्णा, और आप सबको भी हम लोगों का बहुत धन्यवाद जो आपने अपर्णा जी को भी सपोर्ट किया. थैंक यू सो मच. वी वर रियली ट्रांसपोर्टेड टू दैट डिवाइन realm. थैंक यू सो मच अगेन. My brother wanted me to sing something, but I'm just going to sing two hymns from, two verses from one of his favorite hymns, because both my parents have had a big part in my musical journey, and this was another favorite hymn of theirs, which used to be a part of our beating retreat for a very long time. No longer there now. And after that, I shall invite my brother to deliver the vote of thanks. Abide with me, fast falls the eventide, the darkness deepens, Lord, with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. Swift to its close, ebbs out life's little day. Earth's joys grow dim, its glories pass away. Change decay, in all around I see. O thou who changes not, abide with me. Thank you. May I call upon my brother Hari to come and deliver the vote of thanks. And then I'll just make the last couple of announcements. Hari, over to you.
Thank you to all of you who've made time on a Sunday evening to join us as we've tried to celebrate Dad's life. I don't have a lot more to say, just that a lot of the good that I am is the influence of my father, not the negatives. And these last few weeks have just been an opportunity to reflect about what he meant to me, to us. Processing grief is a very personal kind of process, right? I mean, a lot of thoughts are about, the things you could have done better for him, things you wished you could have said to him, ways I could have showed up better, the time I could have spent. But there's also so much to, try and learn from, the legacy he left behind, the life he lived. And thinking about all of that, I guess the greatest tribute that I hope I will be able to, give him with the rest of my time in this world is really to try and better imbibe the sense of optimism he had for India's future, even as he stayed very clear-eyed about our challenges and shortcomings as a country. He never fooled himself about the state of our polity or what we've done to our environment or the inequality of wealth generation that's taking place. But till pretty much the last day that I saw him in Delhi, he used to read the papers and come up with, here's another idea for something that we should do, to make the world better. And he would be, for the motion, and I would, be against the motion because I'd say, hey, you're just being too idealistic. You're too much of a dreamer. But the fact that, he could be 92 and still be dreaming of a better future, and I was, at 50 saying, hey, this is probably the best that we can do, kind of says it all about the attitude he was able to carry forward in his life. And I think that optimism really came because he believed in the power of individual and community action. No matter what the circumstances, nothing takes away your ability to act. And which is why he was so forthcoming with, ideas to people, suggestions to people. One of the lines he often used to tell me is, the biggest takeaway from the Mahabharata is the 5:100 ratio, which is, you'll probably find 5 good people in the world, even if there are 100 people against you. And those 5 people can move mountains. So what you need to go is find those 5 people, enable those 5 people, and change is possible. And he kept believing till his last days that, India's best years are ahead of us. And for me, that's something, I would try and dedicate my life to. That's just, this is actually me talking aloud to myself. It's not really a message to you, but it's something I hope I can do. And thank you so much for joining us here this evening. It really aimed to be a celebration. The best part, which is the food, well, actually the music was fantastic, so maybe this was the best part. But, Aparna ji and her team have also got some excellent food outside, and my father was a foodie all his life. So please do join us to celebrate and take away from today whatever each one of you heard, in the music, in the songs, and, just carry that forward and, try and pass on that idea and that suggestion to, whomever you meet every day. That's what my dad used to try and do. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hari. You talked about the 5 people. There are many such 5 people gathered here today. We are fortunate to know some of you, and we know the work you're doing wherever you are. So continue to spread the spark. The beauty about celebrating transitions is it's also a point of reflection which helps us know that tomorrow this could be us. So how are we living in the now? What is the difference we are making? How are we loving? How are we touching each other? How are we forgiving? How are we spreading that lamp of love wherever we are? So that, Dad, an eternal optimist, like my brother said, is the living legacy we would want all of you to remember. And as they say, every ending leads to new beginnings. How can we ever lose the ones we love? They live in us and through us, through the imprints they have left behind. We are because they are. Thank you, Dad. There are no endings. The circle will connect back one day, and till then, we will celebrate you by celebrating life. Stay blessed wherever you are, and thank you for being you. Kindly join us outside for some prasadam. Thank you all once again on behalf of the Menons, Bhatiyas and Pandas for being here, for some wonderful friends and family who have stood with us through the entire time in the hospital and around. Amazing friends, both Hari's and mine, who have helped in so many silent ways. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Om Shanti. Yeah, the food is outside. Please join us.
That's nice actually. He's a great person. It's just why we are the family of children. Very touch blessed.
Thank you for coming to visit the farm.
Actually, I wanted to come to the hospital. She said that good to see. They don't see and then in and out. So like 12 she said that we have to come home here. But then again, at this age, you not expect it has to be. And be constantly. You have done your best. Constantly on the medicine and dependent on the technology.